not sending their best. They're sending people that have lots of problems. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So Trump's allies, his minions, are starting to turn on each other because they're realizing there are real world consequences for trying to help him commit a coup. And one of them just implicated Congresswoman Lauren Boebert in crimes that just last week landed Tina Peters in prison for almost a decade. So here's the deal. Here's why these allegations should be taken very seriously. I shared last week, former Colorado County Clerk Tina Peters was sentenced to 9 years behind bars. And unlike what you might hear from MAGA world, MAGAverse, it is not because she spoke out. It's because she gave access, illegal access, to Trump allies to allow them to get into areas of her office that are off limits to anyone who does not work there. And even then, some people aren't allowed in. But she gave them illegal access to voting equipment after the 2020 election. And it was widely reported that Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, had dinner with Peters and the people who compromised the voting equipment on the night of their crimes. Peters confirmed this herself. She confirmed having dinner with Boebert that night. Peters spoke at an event, and on camera, she said that she informed Boebert of her actions after the fact. Well, now there's someone accusing Boebert of having advanced knowledge of Peters' plan. So this is very damning. I mean, obviously, for a sitting member of Congress to know that someone's plotting a crime, especially related to our election system, and they said nothing, you don't report it, you don't warn someone, and that would definitely be reason for expulsion from the House of Representatives. She could also be charged with crimes herself, if this is true. I mean, think about that. You have a U.S. lawmaker knowing that someone is about to break the law, and not only does she not report it, she encouraged those crimes, according to them. And the allegation isn't coming from some rando on, Twitter or wherever online or a Democrat. The person who is making this accusation is MAGA Republican Sharona Bishop. So you guys have heard me mention her before. Bishop was Boebert's campaign manager for several years. And this includes in 2020, when all of this Stop the Steal nonsense was at its absolute peak. Well, last week, after Peters was sentenced, and after she got immediately hauled off to jail, Bishop posted this lengthy diatribe on Facebook. So she, of course, made all the typical BS arguments about election fraud that didn't actually exist. And then at the end of her screed, which you see here on your screen, Bishop wrote, quote, "Tina Peters is a whistleblower. She should have had congressional protection ASAP. She did not act independently. She communicated with Lauren Boebert before the images were made. Boebert," she put that in caps, "was updated on all the events that would take place and had a meeting with Conan Hayes after the images were done. She told Clerk Peters, 'You go get 'em, girl. I have your back.'" Well, there it is. I mean, this is a friend of Lauren Boebert's. And Conan Hayes, for those who don't know, that is the man. It's the most bizarre thing. This guy was a pro surfer, and now he's some sort of tech person. And so they brought him in, flew him out to Colorado, brought him in, let him copy all of this election data, and then, gave him a fake ID. So that's who she's saying Boebert met with. So, I was wondering if Peters and others were going to eventually throw Boebert under the Trump train when reality sank in. The thing is, Peters never thought she was going to go to prison. She said so. I don't remember who was interviewing her, but Peters was asked about prison. And she said in this interview something to the effect of, oh, if I thought I was going to go to prison, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be lying on a beach somewhere. So it's amazing how nearly a decade in prison can wake someone up, right? And the people around that person. Because remember, Bishop was named in the indictment. She was named, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, as an unindicted co-conspirator of Peters in the charging documents. She testified at Peters' trial. She was completely flippant about everything. She was making jokes. She was flirting with the jurors. I mean, this woman's got a screw loose. I'm sure, just like Peters, though, she never thought anyone was going to spend time behind bars. She thought, what's the big deal? What did we really do? So they took, images of things that they're not supposed to take images of, and they put them on the internet for random people to see and to now have the codes and be able to get into the voting equipment. So these people made the mistake, I believe, of thinking they can get away with everything, just like Donald Trump has. So I'm just wondering why Conan Hayes hasn't been arrested and charged. Like I said, he is the man who used the fake ID card provided by Peters. He is the one who copied the data on the election equipment. And I should mention, because I've seen some people comment about this, Trump can't pardon Tina Peters. So even if he wins in November, these were state crimes. These are not federal. And so Trump can't use his pardon power for state convictions and state sentences. So she's toast. She's in there, and she'll get out a little early for good behavior if she can behave. I mean, we saw how well it went when she was out on bond. And I also wanted to share some other news that's related to Boebert. Her son, Tyler, he was just sentenced for the crimes that he committed earlier this year and I think last year. As you probably recall, Tyler Boebert was caught along with several of his friends, underage friends. He was of age, though. He was 19, I believe, at the time that he was busted for this. They were breaking into cars. They were stealing people's credit cards and then using them to buy all kinds of things, food and gas and stuff. So Tyler got nabbed in February of this year. He was charged with 20 crimes. And he has now taken a plea deal. So he pleaded guilty to only one felony count of identity theft with the intent to obtain an item of value. That's it. All the other charges were dropped. 19 charges dropped. So at the sentencing hearing, the judge said, quote, "I'm sure the proceedings in this court have been embarrassing for you and embarrassing for your family. But you must realize your actions have affected the lives of the victims." So he said that, but then the judge cited his lack of criminal history and his age as mitigating factors. So in the end, her son Tyler was given a 2-year suspended sentence. He was ordered also to complete 80 hours of community service and to pay court costs. So as far as I can tell, and from what I saw, no compensation to the victims. And if he stays out of trouble during the 2 years, the felony will be wiped from his record. So, you've got this privileged kid with multi-millionaire parents, and he's out stealing from people, and he's just going to get a pass. Gets to walk. Yeah. Yeah, let's hear about that 2 tiers of justice again from Lauren Boebert and all of the MAGA crowd. Anyway, I will let you know when or if I hear more. Let's hope that Boebert eventually will face some criminal charges. I'll be on top of it. I will let you know immediately if that happens. All right, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. If you can donate, truly appreciate it. Helps to keep the show going. Love you guys. Take care. Talk with you soon.